Hello, friends. Welcome back to Trevers to Tell the Truth, video 2. The first video, we talked of the history of Big Ridge State Park. I think we come up to 1936, and I told you all about the murder of Peter Graves, the Indians, the scalping. But I'm going to tell you about another murder in this second video. And as I said before, we're going through all this to help us understand about the hauntings and the goings on at Big Ridge State Park, Ghost House Trail. In about 1850, there's a man named Maston Hutchison, big man, probably 6'7", 250, maybe bigger, especially for the day. He was a real big, intimidating man. A farmer. And by this time, after the Sharp Station, the settlers, he was one of the settlers, come back there, and he had a wife, Mary, and a daughter, Sarah. Well, back in those times, you didn't have the Walmarts and everybody knows that, and the even the general stores and stuff was before then. So how people got a lot of their mercantile, would be from peddlers, what they call peddlers, which were basically traveling salesmen with wagons. You've seen them on probably Western movies and what have you. And they would travel through these farming communities and sell their goods to the people. And they were mostly Yankees. They were mostly from the North. Done some research on them, and sometimes they would swindle the less most of these people couldn't read and write, no education, and would take advantage of them. So this particular peddler came through Big Ridge, which at that time was Lone Mountain, Dark Holler, and that was the name of the road, Dark Holler Road, that would take you on into Lewiston or out toward Andersonville or back this way. Well, when the peddler got to the Maston Hutchison place, now in the first murder I told you about, we know all the facts. We know the victim, we know the murderer, we know the circumstance, we know the place. There's a marker there, Peter Graves, ambushed by Indians, a plaque that tells the story. We know all the details. And this murder is a mystery. It's part of the mystery of the Big Ridge hauntings. Now let me give you just a little background on myself. Hopefully it'll let you trust in me a little bit. But I am a Christian, saved as a 10-year-old boy at Valley Grove Baptist Church, which is right across the road from my house here in New Lewiston. And I'm a deacon and teach Sunday school. I sing. My dad was a Baptist minister, pastor. My son is. Strong Christian belief, and I know lying is wrong and it's a sin. I know a lot of people do it. But we'll get into religious political discussions maybe some other time. But I just wanted to let you know that. And I'm also a retired deputy sheriff here in Big Ridge, Union County. So I want to let you know that I am a trustworthy person, not just somebody getting on here and just making all this crap up. This is how I was raised and what I heard and what I believed and what I've seen. So and then as a cop, like I said, the Peter Graves murder, we knew all about it. It's documentation. It was eyewitness accounts. It's there. Now on this peddler coming to Big Ridge and coming to the Maston Hutchison place, everybody knows that. That's a fact. But after he gets to the Maston Hutchison place, this peddler, end of story. End of the peddler. Disappeared. Vanished. Poof. gone. Okay. So as far as facts, we don't know. But what I've always been told, and my knowledge began, of course, with my dad, who was born and raised here as well. My mother was born and raised in this community as well. And my grandfather, who was a park ranger, and him and my dad in the 70s decided that they had heard all these stories about this back in Big Ridge. And there were still quite a few people living then in the 70s that remembers going back on the park when people lived there. And they would go back there and visit, or some of them lived back there. But Dad and my papa Fred would travel around the community, and they interviewed people and investigated and found out these names, these locations, where the houses were, where the graveyard was, the ghost house, and all this stuff. And they cut a trail in there, the ghost house trail that's so popular today. So I remember them cutting the trail. I was a kid in the 70s, and I remember them cutting it and going back there with them. And one of the eyewitnesses that really stands out that I got to know as a good friend, he was an old man at the time. His name's Paul Hutchison. And he is actually grandson of Maston Hutchison, who is the main character of the Hauntings, the Ghost House Trail, and all that. And so they tell the story that the peddler attempted to mess with, fool around with Maston's wife. Some say daughter, some say both. And like I said, they were swindlers too. And, I don't know. Maybe he tried to, or did beat Maston out of some money or something. But we don't know. It's just, they're all rumored, but something bad happened. And Maston killed the peddler. He hid the body. Maston had a blacksmith shop. Some say that's where he did the deed. It's all part of the legend. Of the haunting, the tales. Shortly after that happened, Maston's daughter got TB, tuberculosis, and she died. And they were sitting in the George Jones house, which was family, close family and neighbors of Maston Hutchison's family. And they were in the women were sitting in the kitchen, men were in the living room. And the women started screaming and hollering and crying and come running out of the kitchen. And the men said, "What's wrong? What is it?" Said the girl, she's in there. She's in there. She's standing in the kitchen. And they said, "What?" So they go in the kitchen. Sure enough, they see her. The girl just died of tuberculosis. There she was. So then that's when the hauntings started. And so they all go outside and they hear a dog coming up the trail. Well, she had a dog that she loved, and that dog was crazy about her. And they could hear the dog, and they said, "Well, that sounds like Sarah's dog." We wondered where the dog was, was missing the dog. And so they hear the dog, can feel the dog breathing, it panting on them, but they see nothing. It's invisible. So that's where the hauntings started. And then they went to the most of them was actually at the Maston Hutchison house, which is the ghost house. And they had a lot of things happened there. See people that had died, things moving, furniture being thrown, a lot of bad stuff going on. And eventually they had to move out of there. Both families had to move out well before TVA made them move out in 1936. So that's the next murder back there. So between the murders and the mounds being flooded and all the graves being disturbed, you can see why some spirits will be stirred up. And even the Bible talks about, evil spirits, good spirits, and, demons. And so we need to be careful, but that's a serious thing. If you don't want, that's something you don't want to mess with back there. And that's what all the old people that Dad and my papa talked to around here said. There's just bad stuff back there. Bad things have happened. Said, and best thing to do is to leave that stuff alone back there in that part of that old country, they would call it. So, but anyway, that's enough for this video. Thank y'all for listening. Hope y'all are finding this interesting. And thanks for watching. And we'll be back with the third video. Thanks.